Good morning, students of class 5. Welcome to English class. Today we are going to read a new chapter. This is chapter 8 of your book, A Rare Species of Uncle, written by Jai Whittaker. Let us know something about the author. Jai Whittaker has written a dozen of books, most of them for children and young readers. She writes about wildlife and conservation. Her interest in this area began when she was a young girl in Mumbai. Because of several naturalists in her family, this interest of her grew. This included Dr. Salim Ali, the ornithologist who is known as the bird man of India. After college, Jai worked at the Snake Park and Crocodile Bank in Chennai. At both places, she spoke and wrote about fascinating lives of these animals and the importance of protecting them. This was not always easy because people don't like reptiles very much, and many feel that the only good reptile is a dead one. But the work of these two organizations has guaranteed protection for many species which were becoming rare or extinct, such as the gharial. Jai is also interested in indigenous people. She has studied and worked with people of the Irula community who are snake catchers. Irulas are also very knowledgeable about medicinal plants. Jai is a director of the Irula Tribal Women's Welfare Society, which helps the community in many ways. But this is in her spare time and during her holidays. She teaches at the Kodaikanal International School, which is located in one of the most beautiful hill stations of South India. Jai enjoys writing both fiction and non-fiction and also poetry. So here are some of her works, like Cobra in My Kitchen, Kali and the Rat Snake, Andaman's Boys, Kana Pana. Now this story of yours, A Rare Species of Uncle, is taken from a book called Salim Ali for Schools. A Rare Species of Uncle is actually chapter 10 of this book called Salim Ali for Schools. This is taken from a biography of Salim Ali. Salim Ali was a well known Indian ornithologist and world famous naturalist. He was famously referred to as the bird man of India. In this story, Jai tells us about her childhood experiences with her Salim Mamu, who was her grandmother's brother. Now I said that Salim Ali was a well-known Indian ornithologist. Now who is an ornithologist? An ornithologist is someone who studies ornithology. What is ornithology? Ornithology is the branch of science devoted to birds. Ornithologists study every aspects of birds, including bird songs, flight patterns, physical appearance, and migration patterns. Now let us know something about Salim Ali. Salim Moizuddin Abdul Ali was born on 12 November 1896. He was the youngest of the 9 children. His father Moizuddin died when he was a year old and his mother Jinatun Nisa passed away when he was 3 years old. Now orphaned, Salim Ali was raised by an aunt Hamida Begum and uncle Amiruddin Taibji in Mumbai. As a 10-year-old, Salim once noticed a flying bird and shot it down. Tender at heart, he instantly ran and picked it up. It appeared like a house sparrow, but had a strange yellowish shade on the throat. Curious, he showed the sparrow to his uncle Amiruddin and questioned him about the bird's kind. Unable to answer, his uncle took him to W.S. Millard, the honorary secretary of the Bombay Natural History Society. Amazed at the unusual interest of the young boy, Miller took him to see many stuffed birds. When Salim finally saw a bird similar to the child's bird, he got very excited. After that, the young Salim started visiting the place frequently. Salim Ali attended college but did not receive any university degree. To assist his brother in tungsten mining and timber, he went to Burma, which is now at Myanmar, but spent most of his time looking for birds. Soon he returned back to Bombay. As soon as Salim returned, he studied and completed a degree in geology from St. Xavier's College. He published a research paper discussing the nature and activities of the weaver bird in 1930. The article made him famous and established his name in the field of ornithology. Salim also traveled from place to place to find conducting bird surveys and making detailed observations from what he had collected. He published the book of Indian birds in 1941, in which he discussed the kinds and habits of Indian birds. Later years, he also published a handbook of birds of Pakistan and India. This is a comprehensive book covering 10 years of work from 1964 to 1974 that describes the birds of the subcontinent, their appearance, habitat, breeding habits, migration, etc. He also wrote other books including Common Birds and his engaging autobiography The Fall of Sparrow in 1985. The government of India honored him with a Padma Bhushan in 1958 and the Padma Vibhushan in 1976. So you can see this man dedicated his complete life to birds. And the story that you are going to read today is the childhood experience of the author with this man Salim Ali. Now the story begins where the author Zai describes who Salim Ali was to her. Salim Bhai was my mamu, my grandmother Kamo's brother. By the time I was born, he was living with Kamo and her husband Hassan, our Nani and Nana in Bandra, Bombay. My parents are both nature lovers, and my father, Zafar Fateh Ali, became interested in birds through Salim Mamu. My mother, Raik, wrote a book with Salim Mamu called Common Indian Birds. So you see, our author, Zai Whittaker, was born in a family who were naturalists. And the most important person in this family was Salim Ali, who inspired others, including the author's mother and father, in birds. And it is author's mother who wrote a book with Salim Ali. As you can see in this picture, it is called Common Birds or Common Indian Birds, which is written by the mother of the author and Salim Ali. So this family was nature friendly family, and the author says, my brother, sister and I grew up in a very nature friendly atmosphere. At dinner we often heard words like habitat and ecosystem. Many discussions made about nature and the environment took place around our beautiful old dining table in Juhu Lane, Andheri. So these young kids, they grew up in an environment where the elders used to talk about nature, and naturally they too got interest from it. Author then says, those days I greatly envied my school friend because they could sleep as late as they liked on weekends. But what the author had to do? She says, we, on the other hand, were woken up at 5:30 a.m. to go bird watching at Borivali Park, which is now a national park. So Here you can see the gate of Borivali Park. It is actually the national park which is named Sanjay Gandhi National Park. So they had to go at a very early hour in this park for bird watching. She says, sometimes Salim Mamu would come along too. He would drive his wheelless jeep, as you can see in the picture, like a battle tank, honking and shouting at every person and the car on the road. His temper, which was never very sweet, was definitely at its worst on the road. As passengers, we learned to shut our eyes and hope for the best. So he was very short tempered person, and while at road his temper was very worse, like he shouted on every person that came before his car. Now at Borivali we had favorite walking trails in the forest. Now what is a walking trail? This kind of roads, paths that are followed for a particular purpose. Why they had favorite walking trails? Because they went there for bird watching, and they had their particular path where they could find different species of bird, where they could see different species of birds. That's why those were their favorite walking trails. I was not a great bird watcher and still remain so. I keep buying bird books and binoculars, hoping that this will magically make me clever. So, this little kid, she thought that to be a great bird watcher, if she buys some books on birds and if she buys the equipments like binoculars, then after reading the book and using this binoculars, she can be great bird watcher. But that was not at all the way to be a great bird watcher, because on the very next line she mentions, but Salim Mamu definitely had some secret bird finding talent. He could see what no one else saw, hear what no one else heard. He could walk more miles than others much younger than he. Even he was old, he would ride a camel or pony, walk for hours in the hot sun, climb up a shaky ladder to peer into a bird's nest. So, what is that secret bird finding talent? It is that wish that is inherent in yourself. It is that instinct within yourself that will lead you to do this kind of work. No books or no high-end equipments like binoculars and other bird watching equipments can make you a great bird watcher. It is your dedication that can lead you to be one. So that is something found in Salim Ali. So, as children, my sister and I often went to stay with our Nani and Nana. Our bedroom, the guest room, was directly above Salim Mamo's apartment. During our stays, we hoped that Salim Mamu would be away in some jungle or mountain or desert. We loved to play hide and seek with our cousins, and Salim Mamu did not like noise when he was working. But what is the fun to hide and seek if you cannot yell and shriek? When he came up the steps to shout, "Keep quiet," we would all dive under the beds in fright. However, our nervous giggles would soon give us away. Now, in the next few paragraphs, the author says some the author shares some experiences which give us an insight to the kind of person Salim Ali was. First of all, he was lover of silence and calmness. He gave complete dedication to his work, and for that reason he could not tolerate any kind of disturbances around, and he would often come to these kids and scold them for being noisy. But that is not the only side of his. He was also someone who loved young people or who loved kids. How? The author shares one experience. Salim Mamu loved young people. He certainly used to scold us, but the next minute he would catch our necks with his walking stick and make a funny face. There was always laughter when he was around, and he was the loudest and most croaky. So it is not that he did not love the young kids, he definitely loved them, and this experience of the author says us so. So we can say that he was strict, yet he was humorous. Now, another experience that this author shares with us tells us that he was an inspiration to young bird watchers. How? I read from the text. Wherever he was, Salim Mamu always had a small army of followers, many of them children interested in wildlife. Because of him, many people in our family also became interested in natural history and conservation. I have many memories of Salim Mamu, binoculars round his neck, surrounded by little bird watchers, mouth open, staring into space. So, he, Salim Ali, was not only an avid bird watcher himself, he also inspired others, be the members of family or the young generation who were interested in bird watching and in birds. He was inspiration for all of them. At the end, the author says, but most of all, I remember the joy on his face when he was looking at a bird. I did not have to It did not have to be a rare or colorful one. Even a bee eater or drongo brought a special light to his wrinkled, sunburnt face. Bird watching was his religion, his road to peace. So, any kind of bird, it did not have to be a very colorful or very rare species of bird, but any type of bird brought that happiness in Salim Ali. Bird watcher for him was his religion. What is meant by that? He loved and believed in bird watching. Bird watching for him was his everything, his complete life. And it was also his road to peace. That is his way of finding peace and working in a peaceful way. So, bird watching was, in short, we can say, his life. So, that was all. Now, read the story by yourself and see whether you have any difficulties understanding this text or not. If you have any query, send your query at the given mail address. Thank you.